All right, hello, Nakamixon Fishing School. It's Monday, April 27th, 2026. April is almost over. Very, very hard to believe. It's like we just started our 2026 guiding season, and but it's been an interesting month of fishing out here. Definitely had a cold front come through this weekend, brought some rain, and poking out here today, just a little solo trip after I finished running some errands. I literally had about 2.5 hours to fish out here, and just wanted to poke out here because it's a new week. We're post-frontal conditions. It's warming back up, but yeah, we did have a rain system move through this weekend, and wanted to see how that was going to affect them. And I heard from a bunch of you guys this morning. I must have had 4 messages. Everyone's saying, I'm throwing paddle tail swim baits at this section of the lake and I'm not catching them. And then I'm throwing vibrating jigs at this section of the lake and I'm not catching them. I'm throwing spinner baits and paddle tails this section, not catching them. I literally had 4 or 5 messages from you guys saying that you were not catching them this morning. And I actually wasn't planning on going out today, but I wanted to just come out and see if I can, I don't want to say solve the problem, but figure out what they were doing. And sure enough, like, came out here and gut instincts are telling me that it is not going to be the same as it was last week. Water temperatures down to 59 degrees. I saw 60, 61 depending on where I was, but I put it at the marina just for a couple hours to poke around and see what we could find. And started up shallow and very quickly just wasn't feeling it. And it might have just been the mental game from everything I heard from you guys this morning, that like, oh, they're just not biting up here all morning. I talked to a couple people on the water, said they weren't seeing anything strange. I mean, water temperatures are there. It's that time of year, but we're going to talk about my theory here. And so I poked around. I noticed the water level came up a little bit. Which is just causing that grass to kind of breathe a little bit, expand a little bit, not be so crowded on the surface. So I was able to play around with a square bill crankbait and a vibrating jig a little bit, but no fish on moving baits today. Granted, again, I was only out there for 2.5 hours or so. No, probably less with all the time I spent talking to locals today, which is awesome. I love talking to the other guys out there. But yeah, I wasn't feeling it. So we saw a fish last week on the Wacky Rigged Menace Bait Silly Stick at the end of the week. Just as an experiment, it was just a dink. But it was bluebird skies, just absolutely clear. The sun is just beaming into the water. The water color is still pretty clear. It's a little dingier than it was, as clear as it was last week. Just a little bit more stained, which I like that. But that milfoil is growing in real nice and thick, and it's just right. Not too thin, not too thick yet, and just really feeling comfortable around that kind of grass. So picked up the Silly Stick just for giggles again, to just keep an open mind, just try to problem solve from all these negative fishing reports we're getting this morning. And I'm just fishing some structure and some submerged vegetation, about 4 or 5 foot of water. There we go. It was about a 2-pounder, but on the Green Pumpkin Menace Bait Silly Stick. Very, very subtle bite, did not hit very hard. And if you hear me in my fishing reports often, I usually wait and reserve slow-moving finesse baits like a worm or Texas rigs or stuff like that. I wait until the fish are stacked up in areas and they're condensed, and otherwise, man, you're wasting your time if you're fishing slow in an area that is not loaded with fish, or if you're fishing a high percentage area that ought to be holding fish. So that's why we really rely on a lot of moving baits in the pre-spawn season, as we're waiting for these fish to move up and they're transitioning and they're feeding and staking out spawning territory. We're covering water, we're fishing fast, we're getting one here, one there, one over there. Granted, we did start seeing some of those bite windows really start to emerge late last week, which is normal for Lake Nakamixon. Where you go an hour or 2, maybe even 3 hours without a single bite, and then all of a sudden for 30 minutes you're catching one after another, and you got 4 or 5, 6 fish in the boat. So interesting that they all know to start feeding at the same time. So I was kind of hoping for that. Maybe it was just not a morning bite for you guys. Maybe I could come out here and make it happen. But I got that one on the Silly Stick, so I was feeling confident. And that's what you got to do sometimes on these bluebird days, little to no breeze, cold front came through, dropped those temperatures down a little bit. Need to slow down, need to slow down fishing, but also your presentation. Those fish might not be as active and aggressive because anytime we have a drop in temperature, and then you add this variable, you have that sunlight beaming in the water. If you make a living by hiding yourselves from your prey and ambushing them, and now you have all this new light in the water, that just makes it that much harder to feed and to conceal yourself. So that's why these bluebird days can be a little tough, especially for largemouth bass fishing. But got that one on the silly stick. Decided to kind of forsake the shallow game of chucking and winding and covering water, kind of like we've been doing all month, and just wanted to expand more on the finesse game, just knowing that in my gut it was telling me to go deeper, slow down. And so I'm fishing some deeper grass on a main lake point. I just pulled up to it, probably 6-7 foot or so, and I just break this out today for the first time this year. This is a 3/8 ounce Texas rigged Menace Baits cavity crawl on a punching rig or a flipping rig, whatever you want to call it, but a straight shank flipping hook, 3/8 ounce tungsten weight with a bullet, with a peg, a bobber stopper to hold the weight in place. And I use the natural crawl color, that green orange color, just because I feel like it resembles a bluegill pretty well with that orange and that green in there. I make a flip to this outside grass line. And again, it's deeper grass. It's not so thick and wadded up and right up shallow, right up against the bank. I'm fishing the outside grass line. And all of a sudden, my rod goes doink, and I set the hook and I jack it. Fight this fish in the boat. There's a crowd of pontoon boats behind me. 6-pounder. Whoo, man. Now, I don't want to just brag about another giant fish here that Nakamixon's cranking out. I want to talk about it because this fish is absolutely pristine, blimped up, not a sign of spawn on this fish. There's no bloody tail, there's no sores on the belly yet. This fish has not even thought about spawning yet. She's still getting ready, feeding up, and the males are probably up and around, staking out spawning territory here and there. But the spawn is not here yet, and that's different from years past. And I was just talking to another local out there today. He's like, man, this time last year I was killing them up shallow on worms and this and that. I'm like, yeah, because they were up here this time last year. We had waves of fish pushing up the first week of April, the last week of April, all throughout May. We've yet to have a wave of spawners push up shallow. They've been popping up shallow to feed and maybe to stake out spawning territory and stuff, but we've not seen waves of spawners yet. And that's usually when the fishing gets easy, but we'll talk about that later. This fish, obviously, just another superb, pristine looking pre-spawner with no signs of spawn on her at all. And it just tells me the best is yet to come. I know it was a struggle out there today, but we're in a little bit of a pre-spawn funk. These fish are getting ready to do their thing here very soon. We had a real winter this year. We had like 2 foot of ice out on Nakamixon. Temperatures got down real cold in the mid 30s, and it does to these fish what it used to do back in the day. I mean, this is normal, actually. I mean, 10, 15 years ago, we weren't catching them up shallow spawning until mid-May, late May. And then for whatever reason, the last few years, the winter's been a little bit more mild, and it's like these fish know, and they be spawning literally throughout the entire month of April, but not this year. And I think I credit that to the real winter we've had, which is interesting because I've seen fish spawning out there in 55-degree water in the beginning of April. We're at 59, 61 degrees. Like, the temperature's right. It's just for whatever reason, these fish are just not ready to do their thing yet. And I'm not shocked. I kind of predicted this with the colder than average winter that we've had, or I guess what used to be a normal winter around here, having some real ice out there. But the temperatures are right. We're hitting 60. The calendar's progressing. It's not going to be long, and it literally could be any day until big waves of fish start pushing up shallow, staking out spawning territory, feeding up, getting ready, and then dumping their eggs. That could be happening literally any day now. And my theory, and we're going to see how this plays out later this week, we have a full moon on Friday. And historically, sometimes and sometimes not, bass tend to push up shallow and start spawning when you have that full moon. Can't explain why. Maybe I'll look into the science of it more. It's one of the only times I'm actually paying attention to the moon phase in the entirety of the year is the full moon during the spawning season, March, April, May, maybe into June. It seems like sometimes you're gonna have waves of fish that pull up and do their thing with the full moon. So all that to say, tough start to the week for a lot of you guys. I resonate with that. Not easy out there. I had to really pivot today. Caught our first fish of the year on a punching rig. More on the soft plastics, finesse. So just very different than what we're used to. But these fish are still out there. They're not quite ready to move up yet. They're not swarming the shallows yet. We're still transitioning. So the best is still yet to come. Gonna take a little bit of time, but get ready. It could be happening any day here, and stay tuned because I'm gonna let you guys know everything I'm seeing out there. Appreciate y'all watching and subscribe, and have a great week out in the water. We'll see you out there.